Hello, my lovely learners, and welcome to English Podcast Zone USA, the podcast that will take your English from okay to good and from good to great. I am Marco, your host for this show. Today's episode is a conversation about my morning routine that I wake up at 5 a.m. and what is the first thing I do? Do I sing? Do I dance? Do I make marmalade on toast? No, I brush my teeth, of course. I'm very much in the group of people who brush their teeth before eating breakfast. I believe it's healthier to brush your teeth before you eat breakfast. Although when I was a child, I used to eat breakfast and then brush my teeth, which I think is actually quite common in the UK. But I believe here in China it's normal to brush your teeth and then have breakfast that I floss before brushing. So floss, dental floss, is a long, thin tape, a long, thin piece of string that you move between your teeth. You wiggle between your teeth to clean out bits of food. So brushing your teeth with a toothbrush cleans the outside of the teeth. But to clean between the teeth, you need to floss. Flossing every day is a difficult habit for many people. Many people find it hard to start flossing every day as an adult, at least in the UK. I think probably the problem is that we start flossing too late. You learn to brush your teeth twice a day when you are very young, so it easily becomes part of your routine. But I know many adults struggle with flossing. They find it hard to floss regularly, consistently. But I have a great technique that so flossing your whole mouth every day is maybe not necessary. So many people floss every other day. For example, they floss on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. However, that makes it even harder to build a routine. If you have a habit that you do every day, you will quickly learn the habit. It will quickly become part of your routine. But if you only do it every other day, then it's harder to keep doing it. It's harder to remember so what I do is, one day I floss the top half of my mouth, and the next day I floss the bottom half of my mouth. So for example, on Monday I floss the top half, on Tuesday I floss the bottom, on Wednesday I floss the top, and so on. Now I know what you may be thinking. How do I remember which half of my mouth to floss each day? Well, I have the box of dental floss in my bathroom, and before I floss every day, I turn it upside down. I put the top on the bottom or the bottom on the top. So if the dental floss is facing up, if I can see the top of the box of dental floss, then I know I need to floss the top half of my mouth. And if my dental floss is facing down, then I know I need to floss the bottom part of my mouth. If any of you find flossing difficult or you struggle to do it regularly, I really recommend this trick. Now, in the morning, I just floss and brush, but in the evening I don't floss. I use an interdental stick. So it's a little stick with bristles, basically a really small brush, and I put it between my teeth because sometimes there are bits of food that the dental floss doesn't get. And in the evening, after brushing my teeth, I also use mouthwash. The most common brand of mouthwash is Listerine. Actually, you can get Listerine here in China, although it's a bit different. It doesn't have alcohol in it, or it doesn't have some ingredient in it that we have in the UK. So my mouth doesn't feel so clean after using Chinese Listerine as when I use Listerine in the UK. However, you can get some very interesting flavors of Listerine here in China. I actually got peach and cherry blossom flavored Listerine, which I had to try. I saw it in the shop and I had to try it because I thought, how strange. Cherry blossom Listerine? But when I tried it, it tasted too sweet, and I don't want my mouthwash to taste sweet because then I don't feel like I'm cleaning my mouth. So maybe the next time I go home, I will buy some good, strong British Listerine. Anyway, after brushing my teeth, I do yoga. One of the lovely things about my new flat here in Ningbo is I finally have enough space to do yoga at home. My flat in London was so small that I could sort of do yoga by my bed, but any pose that required horizontal space, so any yoga position where I had to put my arms out sideways, there wasn't enough space for. So I was limited in the yoga poses I could do, and also it is just not very nice to do yoga in a small space. It doesn't feel like you are saluting the sun. It just feels like you're trapped in a small, overpriced London bedroom. There are also various yoga poses that require a wall. So you put your feet up on the wall, or you do a handstand next to the wall, and I didn't have any free walls where I could do this in London. But again, here in Ningbo I do. So I have purchased a lovely yoga mat, yoga blocks, and a yoga strap. So blocks are big square things. You use them for some yoga poses, and a strap is like a long string that again you use for some yoga poses. For example, you tie the strap around your foot and pull your foot up in the air from behind you. It's quite hard to describe these poses with audio, so I'll put some pictures up on the transcript at easystoriesinenglish.com. The yoga mat I purchased is a cork yoga mat. Cork is a kind of wood. You put corks in bottles of wine to keep them good for a long time. When you open a bottle of champagne, the cork flies out and goes pop. And it's very fun and dramatic. Why did I buy a cork yoga mat? Well, cork is a natural material, so it feels nicer than using plastic and it absorbs liquids. So if you sweat a lot, the cork absorbs the sweat and it doesn't tend to smell as much as a rubber or plastic yoga mat. Now, of course, doing yoga by yourself is not the same as doing a class, but fortunately, my favorite yoga teacher from London takes part in an online yoga studio where you can either do the classes through Zoom or through their own online video platform, or you can rewatch the classes after they've happened. So the classes seem to mostly happen around 10:30 at night for me, because obviously there's a big time zone difference, which is not really a time I want to be doing yoga. That's normally when I'm in bed. So instead I just watch the video replays in the morning. And even though I'm not there live, I get to see my lovely friend Craig and do his wonderful classes, and it always energizes me and puts me in a good mood for the day. That is, when I have the energy, because, to be honest, there are many days when I wake up and I'm too tired to exercise. Maybe I walked a lot the day before. Maybe it was too hot the day before. Maybe I had some stressful classes, but whatever the reason, I just don't have the energy for yoga. Or I do a shorter yoga class. There's a lovely range of yoga classes on this website, so I can choose one to suit my mood. After doing yoga, of course, it's time for my shower, and I'm pretty simple with my shower. I actually like to have a cold shower. I find a cold shower really wakes you up and fills you with energy. Now, Ningbo in the summer is so hot that a cold shower doesn't really feel that cold, even inside with air conditioning. But I like the feeling of saving energy, and I don't know, I just like things being a bit difficult. I think when things are a bit difficult, it's also satisfying. Not all the time. Obviously, some things can and should be easy, but it's nice to push yourself a bit. And for me, having a lovely cold shower in the morning does just that. I prefer using bar soap. Photo by Alexander Alves on Unsplash. I'm very simple with my bathroom products. I just use shampoo and I use a bar of soap to wash my body. I don't use conditioner because my hair isn't long enough to need conditioner, and I much prefer a physical hard bar of soap than liquid soap or shower gel. I like taking a bar of soap and rubbing it all over my body because then I feel really clean, whereas I find with shower gel, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of the product and I just don't feel as clean. I also think it's bad for the environment to use shower gel because most of the product is just water. So they're spending a lot of money to ship around essentially bottles of water with some soap mixed in them. I don't know. I know this is a cultural difference as well. I believe in America using bar soap is much more common, but in the UK, most people use shower gel. Usually it's like bright blue or bright green, and I don't know. At some point I just stopped using it, and now I much prefer using soap. So I wash my hair usually every other day, and I also put on deodorant every other day. So in China, it's a bit hard to find deodorants that also are antiperspirants. So the deodorant is the part that adds smell, like a pleasant smell to your body, and antiperspirants are the chemicals that stop you from sweating. I prefer roll-on deodorant. Photo by Anna Azuria on Unsplash. In the West, most deodorants are also antiperspirants. I believe here genetically many people's sweat does not smell in the same way that Western people's sweat does. Therefore, a lot of deodorants don't contain antiperspirants. In Japan, that is definitely the case. Now, of course, it's much easier to order foreign products in China than it was in the past. But still, I brought some deodorant with antiperspirant from the UK, and I would like to make it last. By the way, I always use a roll-on deodorant. So that's a deodorant with a ball that you roll against your armpits. Many people use spray deodorant. I think the most popular spray deodorant is Lynx, although in America and some other countries, it's known as Axe. I use an unscented roll-on deodorant because I don't like the smell of deodorants. Actually, I hate the smell of deodorants. I would rather smell of nothing or of real sweat. But if I show up to work smelling of sweat, people probably won't be too happy. So I use an unscented roll-on deodorant. Now, on the packet it says it lasts 48 hours. And at first I thought that was one of those silly marketing things, but actually I found out it's true. If you apply it on Monday and don't apply it on Tuesday, you will still be absolutely fine and fresh on Tuesday. So even in a hot climate like Ningbo, I only need to apply deodorant every other day, which is good because 1, it saves me money. The deodorant lasts longer. And 2, I have a lot of armpit hair. I have very hairy armpits. So it takes the deodorant a long time to dry. So sometimes in the morning I put on the deodorant and I'm walking around without a shirt on for a long time waiting for the deodorant to dry. Once I have bought a hairdryer. Actually, I've ordered a hairdryer and it's coming in a few days. Once I have my hairdryer, I will be using that to dry my deodorant, to dry my armpits. Yes, I know it sounds really silly using a hairdryer to dry the deodorant on my armpits, but in my experience, it's simply the best system. Unless I shave my armpits, but I don't want to do that. So just like with the dental floss, I have an ingenious method to know every day whether I should put on deodorant or not. So I keep the deodorant by my sink in the bathroom, and if it's a day when I should wear it, I put it at the front of the sink, close to me. And then when I get out of the shower, if the deodorant is at the front of the sink, I put it on and then I put it at the back of the sink. And on a day when I get out of the shower and the deodorant is at the back of the sink, I put it to the front of the sink, but I don't put it on. I put it at the front of the sink so that tomorrow I will know to put on deodorant. If at this point you are thinking, wow, Ariel, this is so boring. You have talked about your morning routine for almost half an hour. Welcome to the show. I can talk about literally anything. We have a phrase, actually, in the UK. We say he could talk for England, as in I could make talking a sport. If there was an English national team for talking like there is for football, I could talk for England.